Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the modern market, where every day we discuss everything to do with the modern market. That is the crypto market, the NFT market, and how to make some or a lot of money on the internet. Loaded up for discussion today. We have a red day across the markets. Unfortunately, both the majors and memes are down again. We'll get into those details in a little bit. Number two, Eigenlayer's token Eigen plunges to $3.35, down 14% amidst scrutiny regarding staking rewards for locked tokens. We'll get into that drama and conversation a little bit later in the show as well. And finally, POCHITA runs to $20 million market cap in 90 minutes and continues actually on to a $32 million FDV as things stand. A huge return for early investors yesterday. We've also got the latest on price action on crypto and NFTs and a discussion on Sol hitting a multi-month high for TVL with more than $5.5 billion locked at the moment and why that is important. So stay tuned for that. Today, I've got Legendary in the co-host seat. We're ready to get into it. But just a reminder, friends, before we do, that nothing that we say here is financial advice, unfortunately, because we don't know anything for sure. And the market is exceptionally risky. So please do proceed with caution and exercise your own judgment. With that out of the way, Legendary, how are you doing? It is Thursday. It is the 3rd of October.
At GMG, I'm doing pretty well. I've been busy this morning to run a couple of experiments in terms of how GPT 4.0 is performing versus Claude. Like I played around with Claude a good while ago, but I haven't touched in with them with the latest models, which they released, I think, in March this year, so a couple months ago. And I found a very interesting feature that actually, like with Claude, if you have the pro subscription, you can cluster projects. You can upload multiple documents to that and assign multiple chats to a project. Say, I don't know, you're writing a novel, which is something that I've been doing for a while, and you want to cluster the world building, the character arcs, everything in there, and you want the AI to be able to reference all of that. You can do that. Obviously, there's workarounds to do that with other AI models as well. But the way that Claude has been integrating that is pretty cool.
That is very, very interesting. So are we saying, because we were talking about this before the show started, are we saying ChatGPT is out of the door? We're kicking it out in favor of some new AI models. How best can people think about leveraging Claude instead then?
I think it really depends what you want to do with it. So the mathematical components of ChatGPT are still way stronger than Claude. In terms of coding, there's differences. So far, what I've been seeing, if you, I don't know, want to get an AI written Python script and there's bugs in one, GPT has the tendency to rewrite like a major part of your code base, and Python is like really more focusing the bugs. And I talk to people who have run like more complex things between the two of them, and some have been finding tremendous success with like building, say, a game in or a script in ChatGPT, moving over to Claude, fix the issues there, moving it like back and forth between both AIs, between both LLMs to kind of leverage the best of both. There's a lot of like scoring methodology on AIs and AI models already that is focused on logical reasoning, maths, coding, etc. And you can see which AI is performing better in what domain and specialty, and just pick the best one for you there.
Very, very interesting. Always interested to consider which way to leverage the AI in the best way possible. Obviously, we're spending an enormous amount of time online, first and foremost, but this is something that is relevant offline as well, right? Just how can you pick the best AI agent to assist you with your work? So appreciate that little summary, Legendary. Before we get into the main show today, just wanted to announce the winners of the whitelists from yesterday. Remember, we had DK Motion on the show 2 days ago, one of the biggest artists in the digital art space. We spoke about his current drop, which is happening on Shape as we speak. And due to popular demand, because of how much demand there was in the YouTube comments, we did manage to secure a few whitelists yesterday. For people who were not here, we made sure everyone was subscribed to the YouTube channel, because remember, we're live on X. We're also live on YouTube video. And then we asked people to comment in the comments their Twitter handle. So we went through those and we picked 2 people. We've let them know already. One was Alain Clo, and one was DJ Soy. So those are the 2 winners from yesterday. Congratulations to them, and hopefully we can't guarantee anything necessarily, but hopefully we will be able to secure some other things moving forward as part of this partnership. Let's see. We don't know for sure. Obviously, it's highly dependent on the artist. But yeah, let's see how that goes. Glad we were able to get these 2 and get those into the hands of 2 great listeners. So that's that out of the way. Let's get into the main bit of the show. As usual, starting with the price action, and then we'll hit the headlines. So starting with the majors, we've got Bitcoin pretty flat now at 60.3K. Well, it says that it's flat, but when I was reporting on it earlier, it was down much more. Bitcoin at just under 61K. ETH down almost 4% at 2.3K. Solana down over 5% at $138. In terms of the meme side of things, we've got Doge down 1%, Pepe down 6%, WIF down 7%, Bonk down 5%. Popcat, we mentioned Popcat the last couple of days. Popcat will not pop, as in, well, the bubble will not pop, but it continues to pop because it is only down 1% at 98 cents. I hope that analogy worked out well. Getting into the main headlines themselves, of course, we said there's a red day across the markets. Majors are down, memes are down. Next, Eigenlayer's token Eigen plunges to $3.35, down 14% amidst scrutiny regarding the staking rewards for locked tokens. Coindesk had this to say. They said Eigenlayer has been hit by criticism after it was revealed that staking rules received by early investors are not restricted by token lockups. The situation echoes Celestia's token launch, which was followed by a 75% plunge as investors could sell staking rewards. So Eigenlayer did have something to say about that, and we'll dive into some of those details as we discuss that headline a little bit more. Legendary is going to provide the breakdown there. And then finally, the meme runner of the day yesterday, Pochita, runs to a $20 million market cap in 90 minutes and then has continued to more than $30 million FTV in the last few hours. Pretty crazy price action there. So congrats to the people who got in there early, if you did. Some notable sales from around the space. CryptoPunk Big Shades selling for 38.88 ETH. That is a premium on the floor, which has now dropped to around 28 ETH, just so you know. Again, in the bearer chain ecosystem, a Bond Bear sold for 29 ETH, and a Spells of Genesis Healing Formula card sold for 11.25 ETH. That is the price action and the headlines. Legendary, do you want to head to our NFT marketplace partner, Mintify, so we get a sense of what's going on over there?
Absolutely. For JPEGs, we do see a bit of a mixed day. Bored Apes are pretty much stable, still sitting at a 10.76 ETH floor. Pudgies are actually down. They have dipped under the 10 ETH floor. They're down 1.6% at a 9.99 ETH floor, but still not too much of a correction. If you extrapolate and look over the last 7 days, they're down 2.6% only. Azukis are down 1% over the last 24 hours, 5.2 ETH floor for them. However, it's been a bit more of a continuous trend since the collection is down almost 10% over the last 7 days. Did peak around 5.7-ish ETH and has been correcting down from that. Milady's also down 2%, 2.8 ETH floor for them, down almost 12% over the last 7 days. So definitely a stronger downtrend in that collection as well. To have a bit more positive news as well, looking at another collection, chose Persona for the day. Persona is up 16% over the last 7 days, 28%. That is a weird number that doesn't really make sense. Oh, no, because there was another pump. Never mind. Up 28% over the last 24 hours at a 0.15 ETH floor. They did have an announcement coming out yesterday where they published a manga that was very well received in the timeline from what I could see, also from people who aren't necessarily part of the community, but did appreciate the work and effort that went into it. And it's nice to see that reflect in a positive price action.
Very interesting. One quick personal question, Legendary. Milady's just keep going down at the moment, or significantly down from their high. I know you bought into that collection a while ago. Are you still in it? Are you still out of it? But I thought you bought it at a good price. It then went really high. Did you exit at a profit? Are you still holding? What's your thought there?
So I got into Remilios first because I won 3 of them gambling on formerly Insert on Blast.
Oh,
Then
yeah.
I bought Miletus as well, but I did sell all of them. I
Okay.
realized it was also too late for the cult token, and they had a nice price appreciation, but I did sell basically. Didn't time the top perfectly, but I am not a part of either of those communities anymore.
Nice. I guess it's quite nice to be able to get. So you didn't even buy into half of them, I guess, because you won them as part of the gambling, which is
Yeah, but like I wagered volume for that, so basically I
sure.
still got them around market price. It's not like I got them for free.
So you took risk. You took risk. Um, Interesting stuff. Um, so things are trending down, I guess, a little bit on the NFT side. Is there anything that is catching your attention, either on the NFT side or more generally?
Still, quarter 4 has started. Majorly thinking about what I want to focus on this quarter. Apex had a post on that actually. Apex, a gaming focused creator, saying that the things he's looking at is Play Off the Grid, the Gunzilla game that also launched on Xbox and is now, I think, the first Xbox game where there's tradable NFTs in them. A couple other
Interesting.
games that he's looking into, but also the third to last point is the one that I want to focus on, which is Farm Abstract Chain. And definitely excited for that and trying to find out as much as possible in terms of protocols projects launching there to hopefully run it back like we did last season to have abstract season.
I like the idea. Kind of following on from that, obviously we talk about the NFT market, we talk about the crypto market, but we also talk about just business model or new business models in Web3, how we can make money online in general. Someone actually shared this post with me yesterday. It was after the post I shared yesterday about the airdrops that we've managed to achieve over the last six to 10 months or so in 2024. And they said, related to abstract chain, it's going to come to that in a second. They said, I'd definitely be interested. This is from M. Diak, who's one of our friends in London and also a listener to the show. He said, I'd definitely be interested in something like this. I've got unallocated capital that I'd like to put to work, and it's always helpful to hear how others have been successful. To be honest, I'd even pay a one-off fee for this sort of non-financial advice. And this was actually in response to Steve, who's host, a good friend of the show, a great host of Coffee with Captain. He had said, I know you talk about it on the modern market, but you should have a thread or video about how you do each of these. A lot of people could get benefit from a more robust and diversified DeFi strategy that puts their crypto to work for them. And again, just if you were unfamiliar, this is from a post. I'm showing this on the video as well, of how with maybe 200 to 300K of working capital, my airdrops seem to have totaled around 136K in the last 10 months or so. Largely passive allocation, except the exception being Blast, which was a bit more hands-on. And it's kind of documented there. Obviously, it's in the spreadsheet. It's not with the chain transactions on them. But you can see the numbers there if you're interested. The reason why I bring it up, Legendary, is because you're talking about abstract and how you want to try to run that back potentially. And I just wondered what we would be able to do to facilitate this demand. I think there's enough receipts now on chain for people to appreciate that, look, some people may be better at this than other people. Whereas remember when we first did this product, I don't know how long ago it was, and this was the tweet I put out this morning. I said we actually did this product in 2022. We sold $20,000 worth of NFTs, which acted as an access pass to weekly content of how to allocate for airdrops. And there were two key learnings that we learned. Number one, people who followed did do well, and that was the main thing during the bear market to do was arbitrum, and that obviously came out pretty well. But the other key learning, unfortunately for everyone, is that barely anyone followed. So if you did follow, you did well, but basically no one followed because they gave up during the bear market. And that is the typical kind of consumer behavior we noticed when doing that. If we were to do that business model again, it would have to be an expensive subscription, I think. Whereas at the beginning, we just did like a one-time fee for the whole year. Or, and this is what I like most, and this is what I hope we'll be able to do, produce a segment, share it publicly, but have it sponsored one time per week by like a banking partner. Because in essence, if you actually think about it, that's what we're doing, right? Every week or every month, we're just reevaluating who we want to bank with. And people do this. Banks do this IRL as well, right? They'll say like, "Oh, we'll give you £100 if you switch to us and give us your money." Now, obviously, the capital we're moving around and the incentives here are just way, way higher than that. And the reason why people don't move around their capital IRL for that £100 is because the £100 is not high enough to keep going through the administration process of like moving the money around. Whereas in Web3 and with your crypto capital, obviously it's significantly easier to dip in and dip out of protocols and chains and things like that. So I guess I'm just kind of putting that idea out there. If anyone knows or has an idea for a banking partner or group of individuals who'd find that information valuable, just let us know. But Legendary, what do you think about that concept? I like the branding of banking partner as well, don't you think?
Yeah, I like the branding of banking partner as well, but maybe just taking a step back and kind of reflecting a bit more on what we did with what was back then called Airdrop season. You summarized the key learnings perfectly, right? Arbitrum is the great example. We farmed Arbitrum for 9 months. We had so many tutorials on Arbitrum, and there was a handful of people who followed basically all of them, and some of them even did extra research, and they managed to get, I think it was almost max allocation
They
or
got max.
tier.
There were about 3 people who
Who
got
got
max.
max
Not more than
allocations.
me, to be
Yeah,
honest.
that was like a significant 5-figure amount, I think that they
Yeah.
got. But almost nobody has the patience to do that, and especially in a bear market. And if I were to do this service again, I was thinking like, do you do it as like high ticket sale? But if someone's able like to put in a mil or a couple hundred K to farm airdrops, they probably can also hire a research assistant. And the truth is like with those people who don't have the capital, that basically it was a low capital. It was high work, low capital with Arbitrum back then. Everyone could afford that, or almost everyone could afford that. But almost nobody has the patience to see it through. And those who have it and have that conviction and discipline, they probably would be also able to do it themselves. Like they don't need the convenience factor, because if you need convenience, then you can't have the discipline to farm for 9 months. So that was something that I was thinking about, like about the mismatch that we had with trying to find the product market fit. We still did well. We still did 20K in sales with that and delivered more than we promised on that. Initially was for 6 months. We extended another year for free to deliver content on that. And if I were to do it again, I was thinking high ticket sales, maybe, maybe not. And then basically arrived to the model that TradFi is already doing: run it as a fund, take 2% management fee, take
Oh
20%
god.
carry, and do that. And that's something I don't want to do. I don't want to manage someone else's money. I just don't want to have that responsibility. But from a content perspective, now that we have the way, way broader distribution that we have with the modern market versus what we had back then, I do think that this segment, the banking partner, how you like framed it, would make a lot of sense, because it's not about guiding people from the first to the last step. It's more about bringing to attention something that we find interesting, bringing to attention a specific protocol that has launched, a specific DeFi protocol, a specific thing that's happening on Abstract, a specific strategy that we applied maybe. And those who want to learn from that and will have to put their own time in to do that, will do that. And those who don't, they maybe listen to the segment, they maybe skip it. They still could find some value. They could just completely ignore it. But I do think that this would be the more impactful product to have and the more impactful product to structure, because now we have the distribution,
Yeah.
than how we did it with Airdrop season back then.
I like it. I think we are definitely looking for a banking partner. So if you are a banking partner, let us know. Or if you know someone who should be our banking partner, let us know. Also, just hope that's interesting for you guys to kind of slice up the different ways that you can slice a product. Like from a business perspective, I can see lots of people in the audience who are entrepreneurial in some way in this space. There are obviously different ways to get your product into the hands of your customer, whether that's a consumer or more B2B style thing. So hope that was interesting from a business perspective. We're going to keep
So
it moving here.
just one more thought on that, because you said about getting products into people's hands and how to be creative about that. Not related to the conversation, but on that very quick side note, Ferrari is very creative about that. If you buy a new Ferrari, you have two options. They can deliver it to the closest Ferrari, at least in Europe, dealership to you for free, and you can pick it up there. But obviously that incurs cost for them because they have to get the car to that dealership. Or you can pay 500 quid and go to the Maranello Museum in Italy, where this Ferraris if it's an individual or it's going to be manufactured. Either way, go to the museum, have a tour, and basically pay 500 quid on top of that to pick it up yourself and save them extra money because they don't have to deliver it. So pricing and product structure is something that's worth to think about and be creative about it.
It's all about creating the experience. Good experience is worth money. Definitely got to think about that. Sticking on the entrepreneurial side of things, we're going to get into our weekly entrepreneurial segment now called Publish and Profit, where we explain some of the key secrets and tips to making money online as a creator. Today, we'll focus on one of the key messages you must tell yourself to get over one of the most significant mental blocks which stops creators from becoming profitable. Do not let perfect be the enemy of good. This segment is brought to you by Lil Nouns, an expansion DAO based on the famous Nouns DAO, who fund cool creative endeavors which can proliferate the Nounish meme. I'm actually going to give you an exact example of how we at the Modern Market produced some truly bad and average stuff at the beginning, and how we're actually still average in some ways, but we are in a better position now just by taking action, and it has not hurt our profitability. The first example is with equipment. People always ask me about what equipment they need to start a space or how to stream here and there. The truth is, none of it matters. It has never been easier to press a button and become a mini global media company by transmitting yourself to the world. You just have to press the button. Of course, you have to make sure you're in a quiet area, maybe put in some headphones to help, but you don't need to spend thousands of dollars to start out. Thread Guy is walking around yelling into his phone with some old headphones and runs the most popular shows around. Instead of worrying about equipment, spend that time thinking about what type of audience you want to attract, how you'll structure the show, and who you want to be on with you. Do not claim that the audio needs to be perfect to be successful, because that is simply not true. A second example is to do with brand accounts and branding. I know people who will spend an age thinking on a name, a handle, what the profile picture should be, what the YouTube banner should be. None of this actually gets you producing the product that you should be producing. In fact, there are great examples of people who don't bother at all. For example, Leon and Kermit at Unfungible have done a great job of building a Web3 business with no corporate account, just focusing on putting out great content as founders. We, on the other hand, have taken a different approach because we wanted a separate account, but we did not spend a huge amount of time on our branding at the beginning. Why not? Because ultimately, if the show is good, people will listen irrespective of what animal mascot you choose to brand yourself with. And conversely, no animal mascot will save your content. So we had a very imperfect set of branding at the start, and almost a year later, we're now investing heavily into a rebrand, which you will see more of soon, with the profits we have already made from the show. So this not only gets you focused on creating the best product, but is also a smarter use of capital. So two key takeaways for today. Do not procrastinate on technology or platforms if it is preventing you from producing the content, and do not procrastinate on optics and branding if it is preventing you from producing the content. Produce and find PMF first, up level and find perfection after. Legendary, you've been a part of this journey all the way and were in charge of our branding at the beginning. How did you experience our approach to branding at the beginning, and what do you think we should do next?
I like how you very politely said it was an imperfect branding and then said I was in charge of that. But I think we did the right thing with that because I'm not a native speaker, but I would think that for a native speaker it has to be even more outstanding what some of the biggest companies in the world are named. One is named Apple. Microsoft has a product called Windows. Name doesn't really matter. Like if you say in German, hey, I'm using Windows, it's not as apparent. If you say it in English and you think about what the word means, it sounds kind of weird. It sounds kind of cringe, but it doesn't matter. And I actually think that with the branding that we had, it did the job perfectly. The name of the show works perfectly. It's even very descriptive of what this is, a show that talks about the modern market, whatever that is. Super flexible, could be NFTs and crypto for the next 10 years. All we know, in 2030, we could talk about AI-based business model all the time, or whatever that might be. So you can basically get stuck easily by thinking and trying to perfect everything in your head and never get started with stuff. Same on the tech side of things. I'm a tech maxi. I always like to upgrade to the newest shit, but I also absolutely know that I don't need that. And we've seen it so many times with guests who, show up with AirPods, with a mic, with a setup, and then they're like, the mic's not positioned perfectly, AirPods maybe run out of charge. I'm like, I'm asking all the time, are you on a MacBook Pro? They say yes. I say MacBook Pro has 6 inbuilt microphones and actually sounds pretty good. Use that and don't overthink, don't overcomplicate. I acknowledge, we both have the roadcasters. We both have like probably a 2K setup each to run the show, which is good. And audio quality matters, but it's not the most important thing in the beginning. And we have seen that in the comments. We have seen that in the feedback. There was this one guy, unfortunately, I don't remember their name. Whenever I was traveling and I was using the AirPods and I was speaking into my MacBook, they were like, Legendary really needs to fix his audio quality when he's traveling. And
Yeah.
once you get to the point, then you're like, okay, you have someone who's seriously committed, who's listening in,
Yeah.
and he's like, do this better, be better about that. And this is the time when you step it up. There's not a point to like really start and invest all the money from the get-go. And once you perfected the craft and did grow to a certain amount, you can do everything. Like I want to rebuild this entire room and I want to build soundproofing in and everything, despite it being super quiet. And I looked at plans, and it's going to be like a 20 to 25K expense to convert this into the streaming room I always wanted to have, but I don't need it, and it doesn't really matter. And it's easy to get stuck in your head and to never get started because you find another excuse of a process or design that needs to be perfected instead of just fucking doing the thing. And the thing is that as much thinking and theorizing that you do that you will never be able to replace is the practice that you get in. And by running the show daily, and instead of strategizing about 6 months how to do it and how to design it, just doing it, those 180 days, 180 repetitions of actually doing a show is a skill that nobody can take away from you and gives you like a massive, massive head start.
I like it. Rousing words. I concur. I think it's exceptionally important to just get on with it. Appreciate those inspiring words, legendary. And shout out to Lil Nouns DAO, the Nounish sub DAO from the Nouns ecosystem, who are always supporting quality creative content. Check them out if you are considering getting involved in some way. Let's get into the main headlines today. Then we've got all kinds of stuff to deal with. Obviously, the market is down again. We've got a few thoughts here in terms of some tweets that we wanted to share. This first one from Mando made me laugh, where he said, "Say October one more time, I dare you," and it's a picture of, what is this? Game of Thrones. People are not happy in this image. The White Walkers not pleased with the humans who are who have said October about 1,000 times in the last 2 weeks or so. Legendary, what's your thinking here? Just checking in where the market is as things stand. We've got Bitcoin about to go to 60K again, right? Like, so it's basically 60.7. ETH is down 4% to 2.3. Solana's down 6% to 137. Just some additional information. We had Look on Chain reporting that 9 hours ago, an Ethereum ICO participant sold another 19,000 ETH, which is $47.5 million in the past 2 days. The participant received 150K ETH. The ICO cost was $46,500, which is now worth 358 million. I think Look on Chain is a fairly reasonable source. I don't know if you would think otherwise. It kind of routinely reports, usually on just ETH people selling. It will never miss a report on Vitalik or anyone else from the Ethereum Foundation selling. So I think that is a reasonable source. But what's your position here on the market, which is continuing to turn downward?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the ETH ICO sales have to be put in perspective, especially with that guy that was a 15% sell of the entire stack. That they have, it's not the first time they've been selling. Ultimately, they've been invested in this currency for 9 years. And, if Solana, people who bought after FTX at $10 and Solana would run from there to, I don't know, I mean, ETH ICO was pretty cheap, right? Even I, a year later, got ETH for $11. So if you do like a multiple 100x, 2000x in your Solana price, I wouldn't be surprised if people take millions and millions in profit. In terms of October, that's the thing with statistics. Like we said it with September, 8 out of 10 times September's are red months for the market. October, not October, tends to be a good month. But things happen. Real life happens. And your real life doesn't care about what the chart is saying and how bullish a flag might look like, because real life is real life. And if the geopolitical conflict is getting more intense, like it's definitely the case with the escalations in the Middle East, then the market will get scared and people will get spooked, and they won't be like, but the chart is still bullish, I'm still going to hold my ETH. No, they're going to fucking sell the thing. And then on the other hand, it's only the 3rd of October. So there's like still 28 more days to go and a lot of things can happen. So I'm personally not too worried about the things that are going on right now. And that's one more thing on that. What I've always been saying, if it ever escalates to the extent that we have World War III as a global war, then I'm worried about other things than my portfolio. And even in World War II, after World War II, stocks did incredibly well in recovering. So if you survive that, financial markets will survive that as well.
Nice little bit of perspective. I wonder whether, did you see this chart that was shared by D Farmer? So this is actually an interesting conflicting set of charts shared first by Min, who's actually been absolutely crushing it. Min's that prominent Azuki holder, great video creator, but also been crushing it in the meme coin trenches in the last few months. And then D Farmer quote tweeted him with D Farmer's more of an OG crypto participant, great trader as well. Min shared a chart. Again, if you're not watching on screen, said that the best trader I know just sent me this. And it's one of those charts where you have optimism, belief, thrill, euphoria, complacency, anxiety. It's like that chart, suggesting that where we are right now is right at the beginning of that. But then D Farmer, maybe with some old wisdom and trying to maybe scaring everyone a little bit, shared a different chart showing us to be in the complacency region just before a huge descent into anxiety, denial, panic, capitulation, and anger. So, Legendary, what are you thinking about these two charts? Do you even give much credence to these two charts? What are you thinking here?
Yeah, this Wall Street cheat sheet, I like to call it the engagement farming chart, because you can stretch and adapt the BTC or ETH chart, whatever you will overlay on that thing, to make it look like we are in hope, we are crashing, we are dying, we're about to start the giga bull print of our lives, and just do whatever thing you think gives you the most engagement. Like, yes, the market cycles in the thing are accurate, but overlaying a chart on that is just engagement farming, and I've never found that to be a like accurate or informative thing to do.
Fair enough. I think it's kind of like astrology. You can read, you can take the current environment and try to read it in whatever way you want. The thing that I do think is interesting though, and Funky, I see you with your hand raised. Would love to hear your perspective on this as someone who is able to zoom out and just um, you know, analyze things properly. The thing that I do think is helpful sometimes is feeling the engagement and sentiment. Like, look, we just went to 65K. We seem to be doing the same thing. And remember, we're online every single time. We're on the timeline every single day. People are getting like exceptionally bearish at a particular point in time, and then we go up almost straight away. Alternatively, we went to 65K the other day, or 66. People were then getting exceptionally bullish, and then we literally just went in the opposite direction. We seem to be in a period of time where the thing that will happen is the exact opposite of what people are saying. And so from that perspective, I do think there's some merit in like gauging sentiment. I don't know if you need to like do this engagement chart to get a feel of it, but I do think what's helpful is to like go through and read the variety of responses and things. And we've already had one comment in YouTube Overarch saying, no, please, D Farmer's tweet gives me anxiety. D Farmer said himself, I'm showing the comments here, the ratio of comments to likes on this one is terrifying. It might be more likely than my brain will allow to accept. If you actually just scroll through, it's just everyone telling him to go and delete the photo, delete the chart immediately. Don't do this. Hold my hand, delete, unfollowed. Just like outrageously bad responses. Funky, welcome to the stage, my friend. Would love to get some of your perspective here. How do you think about these types of charts and where we are in whatever type of cycle we're in?
Fam, yeah, just forget the charts, right? Like, I'm gonna give you some proper historical perspective, because to Legendary's point, it is October 3rd. Still out. Like this whole Downtober thing and whatever else, people forget that when it comes to whether it's Uptober or just Q4 in general, that this is achieved through enormous volatility. You're going to have massive price swings. And I'm just literally pulling up the chart on CoinMarketCap in October of 2020 from the previous halving cycle. And if you look at that, basically all summer long, we had that same kind of chop where it just ranged between 8 and 12K, let's say 9 and 12K. You get to October, it basically doesn't move. It doesn't even break back above 12K until more than halfway into October of 2020. And then it starts climbing a wall. And by the time it finishes the month, it's closer to like 16,000. And then again, I can even remember like on Thanksgiving Day, Brian Armstrong tweeting something as like Bitcoin was approaching 16, 17, 18, whatever it was. And then the market tanked and people were like freaking out. It's just zoom out, right? Like it's as Brett would often say, up and to the right. This is not, and I don't know if it's just because I'm 49 years old and I've been a market participant beyond crypto for, the better part of nearly 20 years, but like these things take time, and I've seen no place more impatient than the crypto sector for people to just want to have these overnight immediate gains. It is not a big deal. I mean, for goodness sake, Israel launched missiles at Syria this morning, and people are like, why is the Bitcoin chart at 60K? Chill out. That's all you need to do. Just chill out and wait.
Appreciate the perspective, Funky, as always. A little bit of wisdom is probably what is required. Ultimately, we don't know for sure how this is going. Although, remember, when you do zoom out, many of the factors are kind of lining up in what you would consider to be a bullish way. I saw a tweet by, I think it was, who's the trader? Forgetting his name, Wizard of Soho, explaining, or his position being, that one of the reasons why we keep going up and down at the moment so aggressively. Remember, if you continue to put large positions on longing or shorting particular things, am I right in saying that it gives the exchanges a target? For example, like people will see these large positions and sometimes go after them. And if you keep using excessive leverage whenever you think something's going to go, it seems to be the case when the more open interest there is, the less likely it will be that we just go in the direction that everyone's betting on. Do you think that's fair to say, Legendary?
I think so, yeah. Because at one point there just is a massive leverage overhang that will have to correct and will be flushed out, and that will be then a minor setback on the way up and to the right.
I need to find a good spot to get the open interest numbers, because I think that's been a little bit what's been happening recently, especially on this most recent one to 65K, where people were really piling in, just thinking this was the time now, after we'd been a little bit lower for a while. So look, interesting stuff. We always need some of that perspective when it comes to the broader market. Yes, things are kind of a bit cloudy at the moment because of very real IRL concerns and geopolitical concerns. But fundamentally, there's a bunch of structural things which should still be good for crypto, but it might be a bit rocky. So stick with it and make your own decisions. We'll keep following all the things that are relevant to crypto as they relate to crypto, as always. Let's keep it moving then, away from the core price action of the majors. Let's get into maybe the second headline, Legendary, which is Eigenlayer stuff. This is pretty interesting. Obviously, I'll just set it up with, we all know Eigenlayer is one of the biggest restaking protocols on ETH. Their coin launched yesterday, very, very early yesterday, almost a $7 billion FDV. Just sharing the chart with you here for the people who are watching in. It was around just over $4 or so. What's happened since is that it's now down to $3.40, officially down 4%. But you know how when these things come out, the numbers aren't always accurate. It's down a lot more from where it was, over $4. And there's a bunch of concerns here about the early investors who are perceived to be staking but also accruing staking rewards from locked tokens, which they are then able to sell on the market. So this is, again, one of the conversations we had last week on Celestia, because that was considered to be like a bad practice. But Legendary, maybe I'll just hand over to you here to maybe talk through this and what the various people have been saying about it and what your take on it is.
Absolutely. There is a post by Tartfywell who is prefacing that, saying it's not their intention to FUD Eigenlayer. They are an Eigenlayer bull, also because they have 250,000 Eigenlayer staked, which still at that price is almost $1 million USD. And Tartfywell was pointing out that there are 95 million Eigen staked, but most people incorrectly believe that this means 95 mil out of 150 mil claimed Eigen tokens are staked. In reality, a significant portion of these are locked tokens belonging to early investors. The same practice as Celestia, where early investors stake the locked tokens and continuously dump rewards. The criticism has been that those early investors who had staked rewards via the Eigen token have been able or are able to claim those rewards and sell them because they're not subject to a vesting schedule. And the criticism kind of is that there's a bit of a lack of transparency on what's going on. As we said, similar to the Celestia situation, similar to Starknet, where the vesting for some people has started, for some investors has started almost 2 years earlier, and then people were surprised that tokens could be claimed that were expected to be only become claimable in 2 years. So it's this continuous pattern that we sometimes see major protocols launching successfully, but then the existence of kind of a backdoor for early investors to reap some of these returns a bit earlier than expected. Eigenlayer did react to that with a statement, which is pretty lengthy, but in my opinion, at least, a more general take, a more general answer on them. And they're saying, just going to point out some of the key information in there, that the total Eigen rewards to Eigen stakers per year is limited to 1% of the total initial Eigen supply, capping the total amount of annual emissions to Eigen stakers. 25% of those incentives go to Eigen staking, 75% to ETH and ETH equivalent staking. Also saying investors are allowed to stake both Eigen and non-Eigen assets. Contracts with investors require that investors be permitted to stake Eigen and that any rewards be unlocked. Then again, repeating that 1% figure that we just touched on, and that investors were not eligible for stake drops based on Eigen staking. So yes, they're explaining very lengthy what was happening, but they're not really, well,
So
it's corporate.
the crucial thing here, I think, is, are they not denying that early investors were able to stake locked tokens, receive staking rewards, and then sell them? I don't see like a clear
No,
denial.
they're absolutely not denying that, and they also could not realistically be denying that. But yeah, this is something that we've been seeing a bit more often, and obviously a lot of the research on that and a lot of publicity on that is happening post DG, because then you have people who actually have a monetary amount attached to the claims that they made, and you see those information come out typically later. But it's also helpful to have those discussions because I remember the Starknet case very well, where they did change some of the tokenomics post launch, talk to the investors, because there was this like criticism and pushback. And in Eigenlayer's defense, they did some things very, very well. The stake drops that were distributed broadly, also to creators who didn't expect to receive anything. Brett made a post that his educational threads got him more Eigen than all of his farming that he did together.
$13,000 worth just by writing about Eigenlayer every now and again.
Exactly. Yeah, I got a nice creator drop as well. I do think that there might also be some investor pressure on that to have deals like that. But something I will never understand is that we are not more transparent or like just upfront about these things. I don't think that people would actually mind that if you could read that in a very easy way. I think we had a similar discussion with Jupiter and how the launch pool worked, and people kind of trying to evaluate some of the details after that. And I think everyone understands in the space that investors like to make money, and some people will be upset that investors make a shit ton of money the earlier, the bigger the protocol gets. But that's pretty obvious. But I do think that a bit more transparency. I'm not even saying that Eigenlayer has been hiding that, but that often this information is a bit more difficult to find. And I think where we can really improve is in the way how we structure tokenomics and token unlock sheets, that basically all of these things are included and you should see that on a single page. And it's ultimately, last point on that, if you're launching a fund or if you're launching an investable product in ETP, an exchange traded product in Europe, and I would assume there's similar regulation for the US as well, there is an exact sheet of requirements that you have to fill out to have that prospectus ready and share that. And I do think we should have a similar standard for tokenomics as well.
Yeah, we really should. I mean, I want to give a few more of the numbers here because I think the numbers are really interesting. So people can know, like, look, this is Eigenlayer's valuation now. What the valuation of the seed round was, what's the valuation of the Series A, and I've got all those numbers in a second. But one core thought on the back of this is, I don't know if it is okay. Like, and I was wondering, like, look, if we got offered this as an investor, what would we do? It's obviously a good deal for the investor, right? It's a good deal for you to be able to have locked tokens, earn some type of reward on top of them, and then basically you're not really locked. You're not really locked. Yes, you've got this core position that is locked, but you manage to make some of that. Well, you're not making the core position liquid, but there is a portion which is becoming liquid to you via staking rewards. I think that's pretty duplicitous, and without being very, very clear about that, you know, early investors need to be, I think, should be locked up for a period of time. And if they're not going to be, as you say, it needs to be very clear. And these things probably, you know, when you go to CoinMarketCap or you go to CoinGecko and you're checking out a coin, you should be able to see these types of arrangements, like what kind of supply is coming to the market over a period of time. So I think that's pretty important. And just for people's context, then the numbers, investors that bought in Eigenlayer's $14.4 million seed round, that was the seed round at $14.4 million. A $50 million Series A, and most recent $100 million raise. Oh, sorry, this is the amount that they raised, not the valuations. But $100 million raise in February now can stake their locked tokens to yield rewards. As it stands, there are 130 million Eigen tokens staked. Many believed these were all part of the claim tokens, but in fact, 70 million of these tokens belong to the small group of early investors. So, challenging situation there. I think, as you say, if the whole point of the blockchain, or if at least one of the main core benefits of the blockchain is that we're supposed to be more transparent because you can see stuff, this type of thing is, I think, is challenging. Having said that, because everything is transparent, we found it out pretty quickly, and who knows what kinds of other activity goes on and what kind of mechanisms are used in a more opaque system to cover these types of things up for a longer period of time. And again, we're not saying this has been covered up because it probably says in the documents clearly that this is possible, but it's just not there and freely available to the average person who might have received something. We've got someone in the YouTube comments saying like, oh, what, like this is happening. Maybe I'm just going to go and sell now. And it's like, that's fair enough, right? It's fair enough for this new information to come to someone's attention and for their reaction to be like, oh, I did not know that. I was not made aware of that. It didn't say that when I went to claim the tokens and asked me if I wanted to stake. So I think that's a reasonable question for people to ask, and it's definitely reasonable for people to know. So we'll always keep analyzing the tokenomics and providing the information that we find. Hopefully that was helpful to break down a little bit what's going on there and some of the controversy. And that was a fair assessment of maybe the different takes on that at the moment. Legendary, any final thoughts on that before we move on?
No, I'll give it to Funky quickly. I know we only have a couple minutes left and still need to do the Web3 roundup. So closing thoughts from you, Funky, on that.
Thanks so much, Legendary. I'll be very brief. I mean, everything you guys said is spot on. We absolutely need better disclosure in the industry to have that level of transparency. And I had more comments, but I just want to say this real quick. If you guys didn't get a chance to watch it, because I know I put it in the Modern Market Discord, this dovetails very nicely with what Murat was arguing in his Token 2049 speech about memes. Because when it comes to those, the vast majority of the true community things, everything is out in the open. All of the tokens are in circulation. VCs really can't be involved. And so I understand too psychologically why there's a gravitational pull toward the memes, because you don't have to deal with these kinds of issues like you have with Eigenlayer. And even as an infrastructure provider, I don't understand why they don't have some kind of slow release mechanism, even for the staking rewards. I understand that they're locking up their locked tokens for economic security of the protocol. But like, for instance, we were on Arweave, and like you get your AR rewards, but it's a 30-day delay before you can even claim those things. So there is something to be said about, maybe just waiting a brief period before even selling off your staking rewards, even though K Sensei clearly disagrees.
Yeah, maybe a final point on that is, I think the memes thing, yes, on some level, everything's fully diluted and you can see it. There's a little insider stuff going on there as well. That would be my only pushback on that. But in general, once that insider stuff is flushed out, I think you're right in principle. And that's why there's been a move towards what people perceive to be like a VC less space, which people think they can thrive in a bit better on a more fair and level playing field potentially. But look, that's that. We got a couple minutes left today, so let's hit the Web3 roundup to get you up to with everything else that's been happening in the space in the last 24 hours. From the Web3 roundup, which is pinned up top, we have number one, Kalshi wins in the US Court of Appeal to restart election betting. That's considered to be quite a big verdict for prediction markets. Next, Franklin Templeton on-chain money market fund launches on Aptos. The FTX estate prepares to sell $38 million of locked WorldCoin tokens at a discount. So be prepared for that to come to the market. And in a very strange set of events, I didn't really quite figure out what was going on here. Donald Trump tweets at various NFT projects directly with election updates, but it does not appear on his timeline. If anyone knows what was going on there, please do explain it to me. It was very confusing. Tagged Milady, tagged the founders DAO from Pixel Vault. I don't know what's going on. You can't see it on his timeline there. A few more things on the artistic side. Xcopy reveals next drop on Shape will be taking place in October. That was from his official, I think it was the official website. Doodles releases the latest certified viral piece on Zora with almost 14,000 collectors so far. They're doing really cool stuff on Zora. And finally, Seed Phrase will attempt to sell 7-piece autoglyph sets for $2 to $3 million at Sotheby's next week. Legendary, that is the snapshot. That is everything else that's been happening in the last 24 hours. Just got a few minutes left to look at the chart for POCHITA. POCHITA is a coin that was launched yesterday. It has rapidly gone up. Oh, it's dumping a little bit at the moment. Went to like $20 million FTV in no less than 2 hours or something outrageous. And it then subsequently went up to as high as 30 mil, maybe by this morning at our time in Europe. And now it's back down to around 25. The way that I'm making sense of this, although I haven't made sense of it entirely, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, is Tyler put out this tweet saying, what is POCHITA and how did it get to $20 million in 90 minutes? Moonshot also listed it, by the way. So that's part of the reason why it probably moved. They listed it 16 hours ago. Bando replied, bonk owner's new dog. And that was from 19 hours ago. So looks like it's a new dog on the scene. And that is why people wanted to absolutely send it to multi-million dollars FTV. Makes sense, as usual. Legendary, any thoughts here before we close out?
Can't really make sense of that. What I can make sense of, however, is the Trump question that you just posted. And there's also some people in the YouTube comments have been posting. So basically, if you start a post on X by tagging someone, the first thing you do is add bcheck1. It's a direct mention of that person. It's a direct message to them, so it doesn't appear in your main feed. This is the reason why you don't see it on Trump's main feed. My suspicion is it is a bot that tracks engagement. If someone's liking that, to kind of subscribe you, quote unquote, to updates from Trump and send this automated message that says, at Miladies, at whoever, because they engaged with Trump's content, I will update you with whatever Trump is posting. I think that's all there is really.
Interesting. Okay. Well, now we know. I've not received the message yet. So
engage more with his content.
I don't think I even follow him on this account. You don't need to follow him because everyone's always quote tweeting him whenever he does anything to do with crypto. So there we go. That's our show for today. Hope you enjoyed it. As usual, remember to do this every single day, Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern time for 1 hour. We're live on X, live on YouTube, and on Apple and Spotify podcasts as well, if you prefer to catch up there. Have a wonderful day. Thanks so much for joining us. We will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.